Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind. Let's see what happens.
I don't have a physical relationship with them. I want you to trust me.
You do though. You fucking do. You told me you fucked her. And the fact that you're saying you're unwilling, no, I don't give a fuck. I know you fucked her and you told me that.
Because I want you to trust me.
And I do.
Okay. That's new information. It's irrelevant because we don't even have it as established that the friends who are women, did he have sex with all of them or just one of them? Anyway, were even there last night. And even if they were, and even if he had been texting his friends who include some of these past partners or something, it's a conversation. It looks like they've had, in fact, it kind of looks like they had a conversation off camera and either said, let's not talk about that in front of the, I mean, I suppose one reason why you wouldn't talk about it in front of the camera is that you don't want to out somebody else, right? That the woman might not want that to be on international television for whatever reason, you know? But anyway, so, you know, because the way the internet works, she might forever be known as Jimmy's F buddy. Yeah. So he told her, right? She didn't find this out. He volunteered this, which demonstrates trustworthiness. He didn't have to. He could have. I think a lot of people would actually say, you don't have to tell Chelsea about that, or you could wait to tell Chelsea about that. It sounds like from what we're hearing that he said, let's meet up with my friends who happen to be women and da-da-da-da. And by the way, I just want to tell you that I used to date one of them, or we got together one time when we got drunk or whatever. Yeah, you know. Now, in some cultural circles, that is a huge no-no. It's not a huge no-no in my circle. I'll tell you. We're all adults, and we all know that you can have sex with someone and maybe even have a 5-year-long romantic sexual relationship with that person, break up, be friends with that person, and have that person be of no threat to your current relationship or future relationship. I'm going to take a guess and say that there's some of you that disagree with that, or that the rest of the world, majority of the rest of the world would disagree with that. But empirically, scientifically, experientially, it's true. Now, can some people have a problem with that? Can some people have a hard time with managing their temptation or something? Yeah, but inherently, it's not a given that a former partner is a threat. To me, if I met someone that was still friends with a number of their exes, I would consider that to be a green flag. I wouldn't know what it meant, but in my world, that's a good sign, because I'll give you an example. Chelsea probably does not have good relationships with any of her exes. Now, maybe she does, but there's a chance that she doesn't. And given her pattern with Jimmy, we can see why that would happen. Not only because she would alienate someone who wouldn't want to be friends with her moving forward, but also she would invent things that happened that didn't happen, which I don't know. I wish they would just tell us the landscape. Were the friends there? It doesn't matter if the friends were there last night. She's implying that they are, or she has just completely jumped ship and she's just on a completely other topic that has nothing to do with him going to a birthday party last night for an hour. He was gone for an hour. He was probably at the party for 10 minutes, half an hour. But anyway, so we're learning that he did have sex with one of them. Okay.
I do trust you, but I'm uncomfortable with it.
I told you off camera that, like,
I know, but then
I don't want to talk.
Okay, so sounds like I was right about that, but that was good that she said that, actually. I did say I was okay with it, but I'm uncomfortable. So she's differentiating a little bit. Let's rewind.
No, you fucked her, and you told me that.
Because I want you to trust me.
And I do trust you, but I'm uncomfortable with it.
Okay, that is the first moment I've seen in this fight when I'm like, okay, we might be cresting the hill, because that was rational. That was differentiate it. Uncomfortable is a much more understandable word than you don't give a shit about this relationship and you're a liar. You know, I'm uncomfortable with it. It's expressing from her. Of course, she's uncomfortable with it. I 100% imagine that she is uncomfortable with it. Not everyone in her shoes would be uncomfortable with it, but I understand that she's uncomfortable with it. And she even agreed. Yeah, I know that you told me that so I could try, so she's even hearing and saying, yes, I agree with you. So are we cresting the hill? Tell me we're cresting the hill.
I told you off camera that
I know, but then
I don't want to talk about that.
I'm sorry, but
There's like a level of respect. I introduced you to her. I like put her in a situation to be on camera.
And I love her.
Yeah, right. So if anyone's a liar and a betrayer, it's her in this moment. They had agreed, it sounds like, that she wouldn't talk about this in front of the camera. We agreed. You weren't going to say it, and it didn't look like she was saying it in a controlled way. It just come bursting out of her. But again, was this woman even at the thing last night? And even if she was, what difference does it make?
But this is a respect issue.
It was a one.
You're not single.
It was a.
She keeps using this word respect, which is in its entirety. I think the first time she's been hammering on this word, in its entirety, if we look at the situation through the abuse lens, these are the kinds of concepts and words that abusers, controllers will use. It sounds nice, right? It's like, well, yeah, respect, of course. And when she tells her friends and her support system about what's happening through her distorted lens, the word respect might be coming up a lot. And so it's hard to debate that. But when you look at how she's using it, right? And, there's some relatability there, right? But if you just look at the whole landscape, he has a friend that is just a friend, unless there's some detail that we haven't been told, who he happened to have sex with in the past. He is friends with this person, and he doesn't want to just not be friends with the person because he now is engaged, because he's loyal and he likes this friend. And as a matter of respect, he stays friends with his friend and tells his fiancée that he's friends with her and had sex with her in the past. It was probably a long conversation, and as a matter of respect, introduces them to each other. So I wonder, because I was wondering, why does he only have friends that are women? Because it didn't seem like that. So I wondered if the producers engineered that thing to trigger her or something. I don't know. Or he said, I want to get out ahead of this whole thing because I have friends that are women, and I need to race to them knowing each other so that she can have some peace of mind. We can see that kind of sounds like that's what he's doing. But she's framing it as this whole scenario is that he is disrespecting her. And that justifies control. The message is not, I want respect or I want you to love me. The message is, I don't want you to have friends. That's what this whole thing is about. I don't want to be with someone that goes out for an hour. I don't want to be with someone that has friends that are women. This is how it starts. And if you comply or even just kind of put up with, months later, a couple years later, a few years later, he will have no friends and he will be completely under her control and completely succumbed to her point of view even, right? That's the message. If she wants to say, I'm worried that you cheated on me last night, or I'm worried you're going to cheat on me, or I'm worried you're, but she doesn't say that, right? Because I don't think she even thinks that that's really what's happening. What's really happening is you do things that trigger me. You do things that make me feel abandoned and betrayed. You do things that make me get very worried. What are those things? Well, you left the house. You hung out with friends. I wasn't there. That's it. you text people, even that, right? She's even getting into that. I don't know. It could be a coincidence. I could be reading into it wrong. He could be legitimately doing things that are bad. I'm still waiting for a fact to happen, to be established. But she's even mentioning texting. She's mentioned that and said it's disrespectful, or that sort of view, that sort of the face that she has of when she was like, tell me who you're texting all day. And if he's not doing anything bad, which I don't think that he is, maybe he's texting his friends who are women frequently, but I think it would be a massive stretch to say that, and therefore he's cheating, or he's a D-bag, or he, even if he is texting, people text with their friends. I have a friend who's a woman who's texting me right now that during my pauses, I've been talking with her about Chelsea, because she's a therapist too. My friend brought up Chelsea. So Christy, if you're out there right now, and sort of the timeline, it's right now, but Christy's been on the podcast before, actually. Where was I? It's late. But I find this scene to be so fascinating, as you can tell by how much yammering I'm having. And I know some of you are going to like, Kirk, watch the show. You're yammering too much. And I know a lot of you will say, no, we come here for the yammering. So, I get all that. I'm not asking for reassurance. But to the people who don't like me yammering, I am committed to this topic because it spans so many different areas of suffering in human lives today, that if there's one thing I can do, it is to highlight and really drill down on this. You'll hear me talk about preoccupation or borderline or abuse here and there, but this is giving me such a good opportunity. I don't even remember Nick and Danielle's footage being this useful in this way. Anyway, so she's bringing up texting. That's what I was talking about. And by implication, I think, if I'm reading it right, it's a foray, it's the beachhead into eventually winning the war of isolating him entirely. Not volitionally. She doesn't wake up in the morning and say, I want to isolate him so I can control him. It's when he texts, or even the possibility of him texting feels very threatening to me. And because I have no way of determining if my feelings and my thoughts are rational or not, because I was not attuned to growing up, I'm lost in my emotion. And I just know that if he stops texting and he stops leaving the house and he stops having friends, I know or think I will feel better. So that's what I am going after. I'm not going to say it directly because I know enough that that's ridiculous, but I will mention it. I will send the message, because that is the message. You will not have friends. You won't have friends that are women. You won't have friends that are men. You won't leave the house. He says he's left the house 3.5 hours total. So if that's true, does he work from home? I don't know. Or is that outside of working? I don't know. But the message is, don't leave. Don't ever go to a bar with friends and have one drink, even if it's just for an hour. Don't text. These are the messages. Now, I'll hold out that at the end of this thing, or in a future episode, evidence will come out that he's a D-bag. That happens sometimes. Like SK in whatever season that was. He seemed like a total stand-up guy, and then stuff came out later. So I don't know. I'm just using this in the same way that I did with the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial. I'm being clear. I'm just talking about my clinical experience and the theory and the history and the research that is real. And I'm using this as we could be watching a fictional movie and I'd be talking about this. I'm saying nothing about this particular situation.
Single anymore.
It's a one-time thing.
Calling and texting and being with each other when I'm gone out of town.
It's because they care about.
It's because of what? You're not single Jimmy anymore. You're not.
I'm not out doing hanging out with women in that fashion.
Who were you with last night?
If you don't hold on to reality, this is how gaslighting, even as a as an audience member. And I felt myself kind of doing that. I'll rewind it, but the way she's talking, you're just like, wait, what's happening? They have established between the two of them that he has left once, and it was for an hour. One time, two times, and that's it. And yet, when she says this, it's starting to be like, wait, what's happening?
It's because of what? You're not single Jimmy anymore. You're not.
I'm not out doing like hanging out with women in that fashion.
Who were you with last night?
She seems so sure of herself. And this is the analogy that I give here is if me and my wife are trying to remember something that happened like a year ago, and I'm like 50% or even 80% sure that I remember it going a certain way. And my wife says, no, it was this other way. And I'm like, what percentage? And she's like, I'm 100% sure this thing happened. And a lot of people would be like, well, you're 100% sure. I'm only 80% sure. So I'm gonna guess and say that you're right. That's a natural cognitive shortcut, heuristic bias that I think is natural to have. And when you are in a relationship with someone with borderline, they are so sure of themselves because they are sure of themselves. And they're very desperate to make sure that their narrative is dominant because they're so desperate. Nobody is 100% sure of their stance. He's not 100% sure. It's not rational to be 100% sure. You should always have some question mark, right? That's where the abusive person gets their foot in the door. And you're like, well, I guess I don't. Even in your own mind, you're just like, well, I'm pretty sure I didn't do anything wrong, but boy, are they sure I did. So maybe I'm wrong. And then it plants a seed, and then you fast forward, you do that enough times, in addition to all the emotional coercion and just the bother of having to fight about it, and you just give up your ability to gauge reality. So I guess I'm just wrong. All right, well, that does it for that episode. And everyone, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really do.